In this episode, I sit down and talk with Jeremy Hurt. Jeremy is a local business owner and a recovering addict. During the pandemic, Jeremy decided that he would make a positive impact on our environment by starting a bike delivery service. You know, kind of like Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grub Hub, minus a side of emissions. Imagine having to deliver food on time on a bike. Now that is beast mode. I enjoyed my conversation with him, and I hope you do as well. Please consider following me on social media for future giveaways, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. All right. Welcome to the Rise and Above podcast. My name is David Hess, and today I have Jeremy Hurt with me. He's a local business owner and a former addict. He requested to come on the show to help share his story, to maybe create some awareness amongst other addicts, and then also to talk about his business and that he had just started. So I guess without further ado, Jeremy, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. You look a little sweaty from your bike ride over here.
It's that time of year. It gets warm. I'd rather be sweating than like in layers of clothes freezing though. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you from the Lansing area? Were you born and raised here?
So I was actually born in Maryland, but I didn't live out there for long. My parents moved back to Michigan, and I grew up in a small town called Tecumseh, which is southeast Michigan. Okay. And then went to high school there, graduated, and then kind of just started moving around, like Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, lived in Phoenix for a while. And then we had, me and my girlfriend at the time had a kid, so we moved back here to be by family and back to Tecumseh. So I was back there for a while, and then as my addiction progressed, things happened, and I ended up getting arrested, and I actually got sent to Lansing to go to rehab. So that's how I ended up here about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during that whole time, you moving back to Michigan from Arizona, were you were using?
It was progressing at that time. I was drinking and doing the party drugs and stuff like that, and then it progressed into heroin and everything else. So yeah, it was interesting to navigate. That's for sure.
So you said you got arrested and you ended up having to go to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
I hated it at first. I was pretty upset because I had just gotten done doing 3 months in jail, and find out that when I get out that I have to go to rehab, and I thinking it's going to be another lockdown situation, and I was ready to be done with all that, and I was not happy. It was not a fun car ride for my parents. But I'm glad I did, because the choice was to stay where I was, which was a toxic environment, or come here. And I knew that if I stayed there, I'd violate probation instantly. And so I came up here, and yeah.
So would you say that going to rehab changed you and helped you for the better? Because I mean, I know a lot of people. I have a friend that went to rehab, or he's gone to several rehabs, like in Michigan, not for drugs, but for like behavioral things, and he talked about how it didn't really, the ones in Michigan never really helped him much. They just he's just a number to them. So did you feel that going to rehab helped you recover?
When I was ready for it to, it did. That's kind of the one of the hard parts of the recovery is, like, the person has to be ready. It doesn't matter what kind of information or threats or anything that you put in their face. If they're not ready, it's not going to happen. So I haven't been to a ton of rehabs. I think I've done like 3, but the last time was definitely the one that I don't know, something changed when I was in there. I felt different. I was calm, and I just knew I was gonna get it. So yeah, it's it's so personal of an experience that it's hard to like say because it worked for me, it'll work for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you said you have a kid. How old's your kid?
He is 14.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He lives with his mom in the Ann Arbor area. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, going back to you riding your bike, I wanna learn about your business. You said you started this business during COVID, which is I think fantastic because a lot of people either if they had a business they struggled or they lost their business, um, and a lot of people took advantage of the opportunity and started businesses as well. And yours is kind of unique, so I'd like to hear about that and like to have you explain a little bit further.
Okay. Yeah. So it's called Red Bike Delivery, and the reason that it's called that is because I had a red bike when I started it. Like, there's no other science behind it. I figured it would be easy to remember and it would help with branding, you know. So if I would have had a blue bike, it would have been called Blue Bike Delivery. But fate had it to be red. So now I've had to change all my wardrobe and order all of these red shirts and stuff. So. Yeah, I started about a year ago, and I was working in the restaurant business previously. So I just, it was a couple months into COVID, and I was tired of sitting around. I was tired of, not knowing what was going to happen, especially with the restaurants and all the, back and forth that they were doing. So I decided that I was going to start this business and try to help the restaurants that were struggling to keep any kind of business going because, they never knew if their doors were going to be closed or if how many people were going to be allowed in, stuff like that. But with delivery, you can still, get some kind of business. So that was my goal, my initial goal. And then it turned into this whole save the environment, like let's be green and, because it's all battery powered and trying to cut down on emissions because as I continued, looking into the business and seeing how to run it, and I was looking at DoorDash and other companies like that and seeing how they do things, and I started like seeing the numbers and like how much emissions they're putting out a day, and it's just if we're gonna cut back on emissions, then like that model's not sustainable.
Especially for larger cities. I know you said you kind of do the East Lansing area, right?
Downtown Lansing. Yeah.
Downtown Lansing, okay. So downtown Lansing and East Lansing, all these little metro areas here in the Lansing area are kind of growing. They're getting bigger. And so I imagine with, having the Uber Eats or the DoorDash or what else is there? There's a bunch of them.
Grub Hub.
Yeah. Having all them, I would imagine, would affect our environment quite drastically.
Yes, DoorDash. So DoorDash owns. They basically control like 50% of the deliveries.
Wow.
Yeah, they've done quite well taking over, and they do. I think the numbers that I saw said that they did about approximately 800,000 deliveries a day.
Holy.
So yeah, that's a lot. I did the math, and it's a lot of pounds of emissions that are going out every day. So, so this is just my chance to try to see what I can do to combat that, and also like I took a poll to see like what people kind of disliked the most about delivery, and it seemed to be that the food always ends up cold by the time you get it. It's never good.
That's my biggest complaint.
Yeah, see, like it is, and it's because they're trying to like take stuff from everywhere to everywhere, like it's not going to last 5 miles and going,
Right.
So I'm implementing like a different system where it's zone delivery. So it's basically based on like zip codes.
Okay.
So it'll limit the amount that there's the places that people can order from, but it'll make sure that your food's fresh when you get it still. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you have an app that you're using? How does that work?
I'm working on an app. They are quite expensive.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I was looking into one, and I had to email a company. And when you have to email somebody, like when they don't have prices just out there, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And I got the email back and opened it and just started laughing because it was about $34,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's going to be, sometime in the future, or when I find somebody that wants to do me a favor and
right,
create some app or at least use somebody else's to start it. So I'm working on a website which will give people the opportunity to order on there, like through me, so it won't be as complicated. It's not complicated. It's just a little more steps than pushing buttons on an app.
So how would it, like, if I wanted to order a pizza and I wanted to order it from, I don't know, Leo's Lodge right around the corner, I would call them and then have to call you to tell you to pick it up?
Unless if I have a working relationship with them,
Okay.
then you would just have to call them, and then they would call me. But if it's somebody that's that I haven't established a relationship with yet, then yes, you would have to make 2 calls, or
Okay.
even just a text or anything like that. So
Okay. Now, how busy are you doing this?
it's starting to pick up quite a bit in the last month or so. And like downtown, I'm working with Sultan's Express right now.
Okay.
And he's got me doing stuff every day. And then I have another restaurant called Abundance Cafe, and she actually works out of Morton's Kitchen. It's a catering place on the east side. And what she does is she takes all of her orders by Sunday night and then cooks them on Monday, and then we deliver them all on Tuesday. So they're all like pre-cooked and packaged and stuff like that, which is fun because like that takes me all over the place. I'm from East Lansing to Waverly with those. Yeah.
How do you manage something like that? Would you jump on like the bike trail? Would you just take roads?
A little bit of both. Some roads are bike friendly and have some bike lanes and stuff like that, and others aren't. And I can feel the people staring at me and sometimes hating me a little bit, but I'm doing my best with the motor and the battery and everything. The bike gets up to like, I can average 25 to 30 miles an hour. So
That's cruising.
It is, yeah, definitely.
That is cruising. I had just a skinny tire bike. I don't, what would you call it? Like
a road bike.
Like a road bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got it up to like 17 miles an hour, and I'm like, I'm like scared that I'm gonna fall. The bike felt like it was shaking, but that's pretty crazy. I kind of wish that you had an app like where you had a GPS tracker, because I'd love to watch how quickly you got the food there. You said that one of the biggest complaints for like Uber Eats and DoorDash and Grubhub is the food always being cold. What do you do to kind of mitigate that?
Well, other than limit the areas or so like the radius from the restaurant that I'll deliver to is usually about 3 miles, which I average about a mile like every 5 minutes. So like you're talking 15 minutes, you got your food,
right?
Plus the cooking time, whatever that takes. But that's another thing is most people have said like, wow, you were faster than those, like most of the apps and stuff like that. And another thing I do is I have an insulated backpack for food storage. It's like a big square on my back, basically.
Okay.
And it's keeping. I had like a bunch of refrigerated stuff in there, and like I opened it up one day, and it was like 2 hours later, and I was shocked because it was still cold. So
wow.
Yeah, it does a really good job retaining heat or cold or whatever it needs to be.
Now I was looking at your bike that you rode here, and it's pretty sweet. I don't think I've ever seen a bike like that. And there's so many different pieces of equipment on it. The thing looks heavy. How heavy is that thing?
I haven't. I should actually figure that out, like exactly how heavy it is. I know it's. I think the battery and the motor add like about 20 pounds to it.
Okay.
So it's it's a full suspension mountain bike, and then with that added. The rest of the stuff is pretty small, like camera or lights and stuff like that. But I've definitely tried to keep it lower because, that any weight just drains the batteries faster, stuff like that.
So right now, are you said you're just servicing downtown area. You're not servicing other locations?
I mean, I can go. I do all over Lansing. I've been to the west side, East Lansing, all over. But what was the original plan was I was going to do downtown because it was about to be winter time, and I knew that I know how the side streets are in Lansing in the wintertime,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to traverse. So I figured, like, at least downtown, the sidewalks will be plowed and stuff like that.
Right.
So I figured that was the best area to be in to navigate winter. I still ended up going to the east side and the west side, and I actually live on the west side. So, and it was rough.
I could imagine.
Yeah. It was. I'm definitely working on new equipment and stuff for winter time to be more prepared for that, because like there's not a single pair of gloves that keep your hands warm.
Oh, I imagine.
Mm-mm.
So, what are your ideas for winter? Because that was one of my questions. I wanted to know what your game plan was.
That's usually the first question. Like, that was when I was getting ready to actually start doing it. That was like pretty much the first question everybody asked was, "Well, what are you gonna do in wintertime?" And I said, "I'm gonna dress warm and
just do it."
Yeah. But I'd really like to try and create some type of like almost like snowmobile-esque like bike, so where it's like got skis on the front.
Oh, cool.
To kind of navigate through all that, because like it's just the roads are just slush and ice, and the tire just doesn't work well.
Right.
Even like the fat tires, like they help for sure, but you need something more than that. So
you're looking at having like an electric powered bicycle. Is it going to be electric?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it would be so like there would be like skis that came down on the front.
Okay.
Instead of, you just replace the tire with that.
And you'd still pedal it?
Yeah. Yep.
Dang.
Actually, that was like the one saving grace that I had through the winter was that the motor, because I could actually, what I did was I would use a throttle and just put it on like lightly and put my feet down like skis and just kind of like go through all the snow and stuff. So yeah, so I know that works, and it kept me stable and hauling a trailer too. So
Jeez.
Yeah.
Do you have a car?
A what?
A car? Do you have a car?
I don't.
You don't? So you commute 100% on your bike?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. And if I'm going somewhere, it's on my bike, at least locally,
Right.
If it's a far distance, I'll probably get a ride from somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
My wife, every time she sees an electric bike, she's like, "Who needs that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, if you're commuting and that's the only way you commute, I don't know anybody who does that. Now I do."
Now you do.
It's pretty cool, I think. So as far as scaling the business, what's your plans for that? Are you looking at possibly hiring other people to kind of work like around town so you can grow your business,
Yeah, that's I would like to have somebody or two people or however many need to be like for each zip code to be able to run that area. It would be like basically the way that I describe it is like it's like when servers get their sections like in the restaurant. That's kind of how it would be split up, and the drivers would get their section, and it would be ideal if that person like lived in that area too, so it would be a quick
right,
just to ride over to wherever they had to go. That's always also in a perfect world, so we'll see if we can make that happen. I know that the electric bikes are getting a lot more popular now, so they're becoming more available and cheaper for people to get and stuff like that, so
right.
I think that'll help when it comes time to find some more people. But eventually I'd like to, franchise and be in other cities and stuff like that too.
I mean, I know like in New York City and like Chicago, places like that, they have bike services kind of like what you have. I don't know like at what scale or anything, but I could imagine that there's probably a huge need for it in these big cities.
Yeah, I hope so. I can definitely see like starting in places like Ann Arbor or Grand Rapids or something like Madison, Wisconsin. Places that aren't huge cities but are
right.
Have enough business to sustain something like that.
I know that like even in East Lansing would be a great area, because there for a short time I drove for Uber and I refused to do Uber Eats because like in East Lansing you have to find somewhere to park and then you got to jump out, go get food. It's like just a big hassle. You can't just pull up to the restaurant,
Right.
So in East Lansing, I believe it's kind of the same thing with downtown. You just ride your bike up to the front door.
I do. Yep. Yep. Yeah. If there's like lights or something, and I can go around on the sidewalk, or it's I can definitely maneuver in places that cars can't, which is I didn't realize how big of a deal it would be. I just thought it was like a little perk, but it's actually like not having to look for parking and stuff like that is a huge time saver.
Absolutely. And really good exercise.
Yes, definitely.
I couldn't imagine having to ride a bike everywhere I went. I work on the other side of town, so I couldn't imagine having to ride from here to work every day. That would suck.
Yeah, the river trail is great. It definitely helps me, take some shortcuts and stuff like that. Like I took it from like Saginaw basically out to here, to Aurelius. So, it was like, I think it was 6 miles from your place to mine.
Really?
Yeah.
On the trail?
Most of it, yeah. Yeah, I think I went about a mile on Saginaw and then about maybe a mile on Aurelius.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep, it goes quite far.
That's sweet. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Now, you were also telling me that during COVID, you felt pretty bored and ambitious, so you also started doing music. Want to talk about that?
Sure. I started playing the drums when I was in like elementary school, and that was like my instrument through high school and stuff like that, was percussion.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you were in band and everything?
For a while, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I ended up once they started like marching band, I was like, I don't want to be spending my summers waking up doing marching band drills and shit like that. So I ended up quitting, which I do regret, because like you learn so much technical stuff, and like just the knowledge that you get from especially marching band. Like I wish I would have stayed in there, but I didn't, and but I was in a band in high school called Crimson, and we put out a CD, had it produced and everything.
Is that a local band?
It was we made the studio that we recorded in was in Jackson.
Okay.
And then like me and it was just some friends from high school, from Tecumseh.
Huh. I might have heard of that.
Yeah. It was a long time ago, so it
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was about 1998, 99, I think is
really?
when we did it.
Wow.
Yeah, but we had like a deal with Tower Records to get our CDs in there and stuff like that. And,
oh, cool.
This is before streaming music and all that stuff. So,
right.
You actually had to have a hard copy of stuff. And, But yeah, we did that, and then everybody kind of went their own way after high school, and it just kind of fizzled out, and then I tried to get more people together, and I tried through the years, but with moving and being in apartments and stuff, like a drum set's not really the best thing to set up, when you got 30 neighbors. They don't all appreciate that, so it was rough, trying to find places to play and to do anything, and then when COVID started, it was I was so, just so bored. I was cleaning between my floorboards with a knife, just trying to do something, because it was so I was just needed to take up time. And
you said you were in the restaurant industry at that point. Right?
Right before COVID, I left the restaurant industry.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was I don't even know what brought me to it, to start looking into the DAWs and stuff like that, and recording music, but I found some free ones and just started there, and found out that I actually really liked it, and I started I got a keyboard from Free Cycle, which is a cool little website that's like Craigslist, but everything's free.
Really?
Yeah, people post what they're giving, and you can post what you want and stuff like that, and then you just you either pick it up at their place or they'll deliver it to you. And
it's local, or is it kind of everywhere?
It's everywhere. You log into your city or whatever, and I got a keyboard off there, so I started teaching myself how to play the keyboard, and through that, I can just bring up a drum set or any kind of synthesizer or guitar, and
wow.
add all those instruments in. myself. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm just I'm thrilled that I found it, because like I would probably just have ripped my hair out like if I hadn't.
So you're doing like rock music then? Okay.
Like it's a bit of rock, alternative, some hip hop stuff like that. So
Okay.
a little bit of mixed genres, and
That's cool.
yeah.
So do you rap at all?
I, I try to. I've sung along with some Eminem songs and stuff like that, but I tried to write my own lyrics, and like I write poetry, but like I don't know, it's just something I just can't seem to like figure it out, like the wordplay and stuff like that. So
do you know who Sway Boy is?
it sounds really familiar.
He's from the Lansing area.
Okay.
He's a rapper, but he works where I work, and he's pretty good. I don't know if you should check his stuff out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that's the one thing that like I just can't. I was I was doing an open mic kind of show for a while, and normally I would read poetry and stuff like that, and I decided I was gonna rap one month for the show, and I went on YouTube and I found a beat there, and and wrote these lyrics and stuff, and like I finished them like the day of the show, and like I didn't practice or prepare for anything, and it was it wasn't a complete meltdown, but it was definitely something I didn't revisit. So
how did the audience respond to that?
Well, the thing with the audience is like they were the best audience that I've ever seen. Like they were so supportive. Like every time anybody got up there, like if they screwed up, like they cheered them on. Cool. So I knew that I had at least a safe place to attempt that without getting like something thrown at me.
So is this something you do frequently? You go to open mics and test out your stuff?
I used to, yeah. That was I'm waiting for them to start back up, and
okay, they're still closed down because of COVID.
For the most part, yeah. There's some things popping up here and there, and I'm hopefully gonna start something up. I just need to find a place to host it. Yeah, we used to do one at a Reputation Beverage when they still had their location downtown, and the thing that I was going for was, all these open mics are at like 7:00, at night, and I work in the restaurant business, so I'm always at work and I can't get to them.
Right.
So I started mine at noon, and
cool.
then it's good for like anybody that works the third shift or second shift and retired,
going out to lunch.
Yeah, going out to exactly. And we got a food truck there, and then had coffee, so it was like you can get your lunch and entertainment. And
you did that at the beverage?
At Reputation Beverage, yeah.
Where was that at?
It was so it was on Michigan, kind of by the hospital.
Okay.
But they had to close that one down during COVID. So I think their other one is it's somewhere in one of the surrounding cities. I can't remember which one it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's a ice cream shop, I believe.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Soft serve.
Oh, okay. So I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. So you're recording then? You're actually making music and putting it out there. Well, it's not out there, right? For people to grab. Go check it out.
I mean, no, not if like I haven't put it on SoundCloud or anything like that yet, but I do have a SoundCloud account, so I probably should use it, I guess. I've shared it with friends and stuff like that, and anybody that's on like the platform. BandLab can hear it or follow me or whatever. So, but that's more of a one for people that are creating music.
Okay.
So not just specifically listening. So I mean, I guess you could just do that, but
right.
Yeah.
So now, you said that you obviously started this because of emission, the bike delivery business. You started that because of emissions. Was there kind of like an attitude there to where you're just like, fuck going to a real job? Like I want to do my own thing. I want to be able to form my own hours. Was that a thought?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a not too pleasant experience with one of my managers at one point.
Okay.
And I just I didn't want to have to do that again. It was unnecessary, and And it just like, I don't know, it made me like realize like that kind of control like that those people have that they take advantage of, and then you know, use their power. And it just like, yeah, it didn't make me feel very good about the business and stuff like that. And but I still like I've worked basically my whole life in the restaurant business, so I still wanted to try to be able to help that business and be involved as much as I could. And that's, you know, that the deliveries, you know, helped me to still be able to do that, because you know, I love helping the restaurant owners and stuff like that, and being able to just talk to them and see how things are going. And it's a good like pipeline into the community too. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I mean, everybody loves going out to eat.
Right.
Everybody loves getting food to go. So
right. And then, you know, who doesn't like love knowing a restaurant owner, so you can go in there and be like, I know the owner.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, and you know, they're good people too. They're just trying to, you know, serve their community and stuff like that. So it's always good, you know. So now, like, if you order delivery through me, you're helping two local businesses too. If you order from a local restaurant. And that's been my focus too, is those mom and pop restaurants. Like the corporate places will take care of themselves. Like, they got DoorDash and all that stuff, and they don't care about spending the ridiculous amount of fees that they have to use their service. You know, other places can't afford that. So, yeah.
That's cool. I find that pretty inspiring that you're helping out the local businesses, and you're a self-starter as well. One of my biggest complaints was my food always being cold, and that's probably the one reason why I don't use like DoorDash, because I think I was using DoorDash. I used it one time, and I ordered I think wings from B-Dubs in East Lansing, and it took like 2 hours to get here, and it was stone cold by the time I got here. I was so mad. I'm like, yeah, not again. Yeah. Never again.
Yeah, I when I first noticed it, actually, I was working at the IHOP in East Lansing.
Okay.
And people would order, like, you know, breakfast through DoorDash, and it would be sitting there for like a half hour.
Oh my gosh.
You know, in a box, just getting rubbery, and eggs, like, come on. You know, like, so I knew like already what it was like, just from seeing it go out inside the restaurant without even ordering it. So I knew that was a huge problem, and something that I definitely wanted to focus on not repeating.
Right. Now, you said that you wanted to scale the business. How soon were you looking at scaling it, and how soon are you possibly looking at hiring other people? Or could like anybody just be like, hey, I want to come work for you, I have a bike, I can
I mean, that would be a good start. Yeah. It's I'm getting really close. Like, I just actually got this restaurant called Sidecar downtown. They do sliders and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's a newer restaurant, right?
Yes. Yep. Actually, they said they'll be opening in a couple weeks now.
Okay.
But they've signed up to use my service. So
cool.
So that's another downtown restaurant. And yeah, it's gonna be to the point where, like, yeah, it's close, because, you know, I can only be so many places at once. You know.
Right.
I can definitely, if things are in the same area, you know, hit up two places at once and you know, kind of make my rounds that way. But if I'm downtown and somebody needs something from the east side, like, you know,
yeah, it's kind of impossible.
That's what I'm gonna need. Yeah, that help. So it's coming, and it's coming pretty quick. As far as like how to get like on the team, or, you know, as a part of the business. I'm working on building like another bike. I would like to have, you know, a fleet of them eventually, but it takes time to, you know, put all that stuff together, and it takes money to buy all the parts and
absolutely
stuff like that.
Especially a bike like yours, that's so expensive.
Yeah, that's you know, that was like every paycheck kind of like put a little bit more into it. Like some people get tattoos like that, you know.
Yeah.
Like, just do little bits at a time. And because I can't expect everybody to have an electric bike, you know, number one. So I'd like to, if they want to work for me, though, I'd still like to be able to like make that happen and supply the bike for them.
Right.
So and like I mean, if you're an avid bike rider and you don't want a motor, like that's cool too. That's why the 3 miles are in play too, because like
Right.
even like if you're riding, a normal road bike or something like that, those can still get plenty fast enough. And,
Oh, yeah.
and be able to make those 3 miles in time for the food to stay fresh with the right equipment carrying it too.
Now, do you have like a goal in mind whenever somebody places an order, how quickly you want to get it to them?
I think basically what I would plan for is like 15 minutes of cooking time, maybe 20 depending on the time of day and how busy the restaurant is, and then 15 minutes for me to get it there. So within a half hour, maybe a little bit more, you should have your food, unless you want it at a specific time later in the day or something. You can do that too. But yeah, about a half hour. One of the things about my service too is that that other the corporate places can't or don't offer is like, if you decide you want dinner and you order through me and then you remember like you need cat food, I can do that. Like, and it's one delivery fee. It's not like you don't have to call multiple places. You don't have to have multiple people do it.
Pick up groceries on the way.
Yeah, dry cleaning, whatever. I don't know if people still use dry cleaners, but anything like that. Yeah, I can run errands and do all that stuff. So I've gotten groceries for people and other things like that. So
And that's probably where the trailer comes in handy.
yes, definitely. And that's I'm working on completing that too, to make it so it'll be temperature controlled on the inside and everything like that. It'll be it'll have its own battery and insulated and heated and cooled and all that stuff.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's definitely a need for that. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to have to ride a bike again everywhere. What do you do to like mitigate the stress on your body to like recover? Because I mean, riding a bike is not easy, and especially when you're doing it for speed, because you're kind of racing yourself against yourself.
Right. Yeah, I know, right? There's nobody keeping time on you. But, I think so. Like, I'm learning like more stuff, because this is the first bike I've ever really bought that I didn't get from like a garage sale or something, So I'm learning all these things about it, and the Lansing Bike Co-op has been a huge help. Like, that place is, if you own a bike and you want to learn how to work on it, like that's where you need to go. It's like it's right on Kalamazoo, on the east side, kind of by the Allen Neighborhood Center.
Okay. Yep.
But like they've been a lifesaver. They have just a garage full of parts that you can buy for much cheaper than you would buy brand new. And then they show you how to work on it, and like they won't do it for you.
They'll teach you.
Yeah, they want you to know how to do it next time.
Cool.
But yeah, they've been a lifesaver for learning things like that, like positioning my seat and my handlebars and stuff like that to relieve stress on my wrists and legs and stuff like that. So
how often do you have to maintenance your bike, like put new brake pads and tires and all that stuff on there?
So, like, I don't know what happened with the original. Like, the back tire went out really, really fast. Like, it was like a slick, like, within like a couple months. So I had to get new ones. I got some new like they're like beefy tires now though. Like, I've run over some really like heavy stuff that sounded horrible, and they're still going. Like, haven't popped it. No holes, no dented rims or anything like that. So
awesome.
But I've definitely had to replace the brake pads already. When you're slowing down from 30 miles an hour all the time, it tends to wear on them pretty quick. But I have hydraulic brakes too, so it's not like the ones that like clamp on the actual tire. Like, there's a disc that they use, which those things last forever. But the pads definitely, just like a car.
Right.
And then, like I've broken a couple chains. That's been a lot of fun. Learning how to put on a new chain, like, and how many links should be in there, like how to figure out the length that it should be and all that stuff was.
Oh, jeez.
It was like, there's so much to working on a bike. It's insane. Like,
yeah.
And none of the parts are like interchangeable. Like there's so much stuff that's like rigged up to my bike because like it just there's no parts that work with it that
wow.
like, so I've definitely, my problem solving skills have increased immensely because of this. So.
That's cool. I mean, at least you were able to kind of teach yourself how to fix it and rig it together.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, it's been challenging, but the bike co-op has been a huge, all the knowledge they have has been life-saving.
That's cool. That's real cool. So I guess, is there anything else you want to talk about regarding the business? And obviously you put it out there that if somebody wants to help start an app for you, then they're more than welcome to get in contact with you and make this happen. And so you can possibly, hire more people.
Yes, that would be awesome. And just, just because I'm guilty, like whenever I order or DoorDash or any deliveries that I have to order, I look at my phone to see where they're at. I'm guilty of it, and when the time's like coming to the end, like I'm like they're about to hit the max time, like they haven't even left the store. What's going on? But so I know how important that is to people, and I would love to be able to offer it to them. But like I said, it's something that it will be in the future, eventually.
Right.
But money is definitely, it stops so many people from doing so many good things, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think there was a quote that one of my someone I know said something about how money damages genius or something like that. It was something on those lines. I can't remember the exact words, but it was so just profound to me at the time, like how money can affect the genius that someone has being put out to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you have to make a decision to quit your job, start a business, and you're making good money at that job, and you don't want your lifestyle to change, then it can for sure hinder you and hinder your decisions that you make.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Or just even having startup costs that you can't figure out how to get through,
Right.
Stuff like that. So there's some programs in Lansing that have been helpful. Leap was one. They had a program called One and All that I was in, where they help local business owners, entrepreneurs, and stuff like that. They basically give you a mentor and stuff like that, and then help you with some seed money.
Really?
Once you finish their program, yeah. So that was cool.
How do you get involved in that?
You just go on their website and sign up. There'll be links to the One and All program, and you just you sign up, and then there's a whole interview process and stuff like that, and then they decide if they're going to be on that. The cohort is what they call them. So yeah, I was lucky enough to get into that, and then just the connections I made on there too were huge. So
there was a lady that was on the podcast yesterday. She is working on starting a nonprofit, and she was talking about the Fledge and how they're somehow involved with the Leap as well.
Was it Erica?
It was Erica. You know Erica.
I do. Yes. I'm actually the vice president on the board for Jubilee.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Right? Small
you
world.
guys didn't talk about this at all?
No, I had no idea that she was going to be on today or yesterday.
Yeah, she was on yesterday. Wow. That's crazy.
It is crazy. That's awesome. She's right down the street from you too.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. I was going to say something about how my last two guests rode bikes to the podcast.
Yep. That's funny.
That is hilarious. So, how did you get involved with Jubilee? Let's talk about that now. You don't have a time you have to be out here, do you?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So I met Erica. Probably a couple years ago now. She was doing a thing called Art Space, where they would set up pop-up vending events, and then through the Fledge we continued our friendship and stuff like that, and that's how we would see each other and stuff like that. And then she started doing this event called When September Ends, which I'm sure she told you all about.
Yep.
I just got involved. I just offered to help because planning events has been one of the things that I enjoy doing. And it just kept continuing from there, and then she decided to start the Jubilee and all that stuff, and she asked me if I wanted to be involved, and I couldn't say no. So
I think what she's doing is, well, I told her on the podcast, it's pretty crazy that she wants to be able to help people at that big of a scale, because there's so much involved. That seems like there'd be so much involved with her program, and it would be a great thing if she's able to pull it off.
Yeah, it would be. It's my hat's off to her, because so there's this pitch competition that the Fledge does called 99 Problems, but a pitch ain't one. And it's every Friday. I think it's at like 3:30 now is when they do it.
Okay.
It used to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now it's at like 3:30 in the afternoon, I believe. And you get 99 seconds to pitch your idea. And then the crowd and the other pitchers vote, and then whoever wins $99.
Oh, wow.
So God, I had to do that a few times. I can't remember where I was going with the whole story of this, but oh yeah. So people are pitching these ideas like Jubilee, and another friend that has a re-entry program for felons and stuff like that, returning from prison and stuff. And I'm pitching a delivery business, and I'm like, how am I gonna win this shit? Everybody's saving the world, and I'm delivering food. So
who won that one?
We've all taken our turns winning.
Okay.
I've actually won it 5 times. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Yes, I found my niche and stuff like that with the CO2 emissions and stuff like that, and trying to combat that, and also the community. It really is it's not just a delivery business. I am trying to build community with it, and make delivery personal again. I talk to the people that I deliver food to. I don't just well, if they want me to just drop it off and go, then I'll do that. But if not, I say hi to the people, I get to know them and stuff like that. And I think that's something that's been missing in that business for a long time.
I think it's like that with a lot of different things. Just because life has become so fast paced, these days, especially with Amazon and instant deliveries and
yeah, it is the norm pretty much now. So I'm just trying to break free from that a little bit and slow down.
I had some sense of community.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's kind of what I'm doing with this podcast as well. Is at first I kind of started off doing interviewing foster people. People who've been in foster care, because I was in foster care, and I'm like, that's cool, but they're all sad stories. And I don't want it to just be sad stories. And then I kind of thought, maybe I should interview people from the community, and that way people can get to know these local business owners. And especially when COVID happened, I'm like, man, these local businesses are struggling right now. And these nonprofits, I don't really know anything about nonprofits here in Lansing other than the big ones like the Rescue Mission or whatever. And through the podcast, I've learned about all these small nonprofits like Jubilee, and it's real cool to see other people trying to make a stride in the community, and I don't know, it's real interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there working real hard to make this city the best that it can be. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's so crazy how small of a world it is, and how Erica was on yesterday and now you're on today.
Right. Yeah, I think you'll start noticing a connection too between a lot of people the more that you interview and see how tight of a community it is.
It feels like I'm on the outside.
Not anymore now. You're part of the connection now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's real cool. I'm glad I'm able to help get people's stories out.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote while you're on here?
Yeah, I think I've done enough promotion. I do want to say though, I don't come on shows like this or talk about my story for attention. Especially the addiction part. I don't want pity from anybody or anything like that.
Right.
I do it because I want people to understand that it's not the end of everyone's story.
Right.
Like every addict is a person. Like we all have a chance. We all have like things that that we are good at or can do like successfully
Mm-hmm.
if given the right opportunity. And I know it's hard to support people like when they're in active addiction and going through what they have to go through, but like you never know when somebody's gonna get it. So like just like continue to support the people the best you can. If you gotta love them from a distance, then that's what you gotta do. But like just don't give up on anybody.
Well, I think it's easy to, when somebody falls from grace, I guess, it's easy to be like, oh, fuck that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've put all my effort into him. Like he's still gonna fuck up and
Right.
fuck him. But having again that sense of community and having somebody there who cares and is willing to walk through it with them is always important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's for a while like it was like they tried to like I don't know shame people into being sober, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you already live with so much shame as it is being in the position that you are. Like adding on to it isn't gonna do anything.
What before we wrap this up real quick, what is it like being an addict? Because I've never been addicted to anything. Obviously, like you just mentioned, when you're using, there's a sense of shame.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more than likely not happy with yourself that you failed again or you fucked up again, but there's something there that makes people want to shoot up or whatever it is, drink. What do you think that is?
Man, it's like there's so much, and it can be anything from your childhood, like repressed memories, things that you haven't dealt with. It's basically like things that you haven't dealt with, that you just don't want to, or even if you realize it or not. That's typically that's a main factor in stuff like that, and like to speaking on like the shame and like it's like because especially like if like for me I was like a constant relapser. I would get about 5 months in and then I would be back. It never started off with a needle in my arm, but it always ended up that way.
Would it start off slowly, like maybe smoking some pot, or like how would it start?
Yeah, like getting Vicodin or something like
Okay.
that, and then and then within it's crazy. Like it progresses faster and faster the more that you go back to it. So like within the blink of an eye, you're back to like to as bad as it can get.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just like you sit there and you think like nobody's not thinking like how many times am I gonna do this? Like when am I gonna stop doing this shit to myself?
Right.
And it's it's and you can see yourself do it, but it's like you're not in control of your what you're doing. You're just like you're watching almost, and it's not fun at all.
It's not.
Nobody enjoys it. So like it's the craziest experience. It's like an out of body experience, like where you're just like helpless and so like just knowing like those, I don't like the word triggers because like I really
I don't like that word either.
Yeah, like that's just like shit you haven't dealt with. Like
Right.
deal with it and it's not a trigger anymore. But like so there are they do exist, but like they can be combated, like they can be taken care of. So that's like huge, like knowing those things, like understanding like how your body works, like how you like feel when you like get into certain situations and stuff like that, and just like focusing on your like inside, like and just really understanding yourself and how you react to things.
Being more introspective.
Yes.
Like realizing like, okay, this might trigger me. Like him responding to me like that might make me angry, so I should probably handle this situation like this, or
Right, yeah, exactly. It's one of my problems was I would get sober, and then I would go back to like the same, not the same lifestyle I had when I was using, but like I wasn't changing anything. I would just go back to work and like hang out and
hang with the same people.
Yeah, like for the most part, it was weird. I kind of had like two lives where I had like my friends that I hung out with that like didn't didn't do drugs and stuff like that, and then like I had like the back alley people that I was hanging out with, so it was really it was like a fucked up superhero that's like doing nothing good. Normal person by day, addict by night. But yeah, I wasn't doing anything like to make my life better, really,
Right.
except being sober, which is a great start, but like it wasn't enough. So like I the last time I went back to school and like started, after a 20-year summer vacation, I decided to try community college again, and I did really well. And then I've just been, moving from, one thing to the other and doing things I haven't done before. And pushing myself.
What'd you go to school for?
I was going to go for to be a social worker.
Okay.
Get my master's in social work, but that slowed down because I started the businesses and stuff like that, and wanted to put. I figured I'd rather make money than be $40,000 in debt with a degree.
That's one of those thankless jobs too. Is
yeah.
it never ends. There's never enough resources, and it's just I couldn't imagine working in that field because, there's really nothing you can do other than help the people that you're working directly with.
Mm-hmm.
The system doesn't really change.
No. Hopefully it will, but yeah, it doesn't. And
with systems or programs like Jubilee, I mean that would help a lot.
Absolutely, yes. Oh God, yeah. That and the recovery rate, the success rate isn't very high. So you're watching people fail constantly. So it can definitely wear on you. Even just being friends with, a bunch of people that have, used or go back to that lifestyle and stuff like that, has, taken a toll on me. So,
I'm sure.
Yeah. But, you just got to keep pushing forward and hope that everybody else can.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, you're clean now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, real quick, I want to know what's your opinions on drugs? Do you think drugs should be legalized? Because Erica was in here yesterday and she was like, I think drugs should be legalized. I think you should be able to do it if you want, which I guess I kind of agree with her, other than like how it might affect our kids, and whatnot. But what's your opinion on that?
I think that they should be decriminalized. I don't know about legalized. It's like there's a fine line, in between there. And
maybe she said decriminalized.
Okay.
Maybe she said that. I don't want to put words in her mouth.
Sure. I think that's the big push right now is for that. So basically, like, if you get caught with drugs, like they don't take you to jail, like they offer to get you into rehab and stuff like that,
right?
Which like jail like isn't the place to be. You know what you get in jail? You get more contacts. You don't get any help. There's no programs to rehabilitate you in jail. You just meet more drug dealers and more addicts.
It's a way for the system to make more money off of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's because once you're in there, it's so hard to get out. I definitely would like to see drugs decriminalized. The war on drugs is a fucking joke. It's been 50 years. Could you imagine if we were still in Vietnam 50 years from like the beginning? Like, it's insane. There's no, like, we lost. Drugs won,
right.
Like.
And they just keep finding new ways. And now, like with the whole fentanyl thing, I mean, it's just there's always new ways and new methods, and just legalize, not necessarily legalize it, but decriminalize it to where, you offer more services for people who get arrested. Mm-hmm. It would change a lot. It
would change immensely. And there's proof out there in other countries that have done the same. So, but like one of the big problems too is like with it being the way that it is, illegal and everything, and it makes things so much more violent. Like there's no like the only way to solve problems in that world is through violence.
Right.
There's because it's all underground and it's all back alley shit and there's no like solving things in a civil manner.
Right.
So when you got cartels in charge of everything and there's so many benefits to decriminalizing it if people would just look into it. Like just a quick Google search will show you like the research that's been done, and like how it could be controlled, even, like,
Right.
like
They could have centers
right.
for anything, for heroin, or
Mm-hmm.
because I think there was a scientist that takes heroin regularly.
Oh yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, you seen that?
Yeah.
And yeah, he's not addicted or anything. I mean, he just does it to help soothe him, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I read a little bit about that story, so I definitely saw that, and thought it was pretty interesting to, because nobody's really come forward and said anything like that before. So I think it's kind of dangerous, though, because it gives people false hope that they can be that person.
Right.
But
well, that's why you probably should have scientists and doctors and centers for things like that if you want to try it. So that was my problem with it, is like I don't want my kids getting a hold of it. I don't want my kids getting a hold of drugs and becoming abusers, or or it being passed around at school.
Right. I believe that, like, whether it's, regardless of the legal status of the drug, if people are going to do it, they're going to do it. Then if they legalize heroin tomorrow, nobody that hasn't done it or like is just going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to go do heroin because it's legal. Like that's like people thinking that, like, making marijuana legal was gonna, like, make all of a sudden everybody's gonna be driving high and stuff. Like, number one, they already were, if they were. So, like, and nobody's, like, doing it just because it's legal now. So
right.
I don't think it will. I don't think it would affect like situations like that too much.
You don't think it'd make it a little bit more easily accessible for people to get?
Man, it's not hard right now. It really isn't. Yeah. But it's the only thing, the reason that, like, it's such a I don't even know how to describe it. Just, like, the legality of it definitely, like, makes it worse, though. Like, if you knew somebody was an addict and, like, they were gonna do it, like, people are gonna do these drugs, right? They're going to. There's no stopping it. Like, that's not right. That's not the answer. It's not even, like, it's not even feasible.
Right.
So, like, if your kid was, like, in that situation, would you rather him, like, in some trap house with, like, people with guns and shit like that, or in a safe situation where they're at least know they're being monitored or something like that, and like their drugs are being tested and stuff like that to make sure that there isn't all that fentanyl in it and shit. So there's a lot of benefits to it that people, but, like, everybody thinks that, like, people are just going to stop doing drugs, and that's right. It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. I just think that when you bring up the subject of decriminalizing drugs, it kind of scares people, because then they're like, oh, what if our kids get a hold of it? What if it's easier to access, or what if it's easier to get, your hands on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's just a big talking point.
Yeah, it is, definitely. That's a whole nother show for real. 'Cause, I mean, like, cigarettes used to be in, like, right in stores and stuff, in vending machines.
Right.
I don't think it would be like a situation like that where you get, some heroin out of a vending machine, but yeah, it's if it was like the depositories, like something like that, like where you needed a prescription or some I don't know. There's some way to do it better than it's being done right now. Let's
absolutely.
Just say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, so I guess with that we should probably wrap this up. That was pretty intense. I don't have strong feelings when it comes to drugs. Like I said, I've never used heroin. I've never used anything like hard. The only thing I think I've done is cocaine, marijuana. I've never done cocaine. Okay. I've smoked pot, but yeah. Other than that, I've never done anything else.
Yeah, that's good. Whenever people tell me they're scared of drugs, I'm like, good. That's fine. Like, you don't have to not be scared of them. It's okay.
I think one of the main reasons why I was scared to use, like, or do cocaine, or, like, I've never had a desire to, like, do heroin or like meth or anything like that. But I was always scared of becoming a loser. I didn't want to be a loser.
Yeah. It happens fast.
You know, because like everything that I'd been told is like, oh, if you do drugs, you're a loser. You
Ah.
know.
Well, hey, if it worked, like, that's what you needed to hear. So yeah.
So I mean, I never did it. Even when I smoked pot, I felt like a loser. Like when I was in high school, I'm like, man, I'm not doing it. What am I doing with my life?
That's awesome.
But I have nothing against it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. Everybody has their experiences that they have to go through, and
Yeah.
I've lived a few different lifestyles in one life, so it's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, and you're making a difference. You started a business, and you're working for yourself, which is, there's nothing better than being able to make your own hours and not have to worry about going to a 9 to 5 or
Right.
even a 2 to midnight or whatever it is in the restaurant industry.
Yeah. It's been a blessing, and had I not gone through what I've went through, like, I don't think I'd be the who I am today and have that drive. So
Right.
Yep.
And you're on the board for Jubilee,
yes,
which is awesome.
yes I am.
All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. If you ever want to come back, feel free. We'll have you ride your bike over again.
Yeah, we'll set something up for sure. We can talk
All right.
about it. Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.